when King Arthur had to take, right, the world from like a place of negativity to a place of light. He couldn't do it alone, even though he was like this ultimate high achiever person, right? He needed a table of 12, and he needed 11 people by his side that brought something different to the table. And so one of the things that high achievers like us, what we need is we need a round table.
Welcome to Normalize the Conversation by Inspiring My Generation. I'm your host, Francesca Reicherter, and today I'm joined by Dr. Esther Zeledón, a globally recognized coach and best-selling author who helps people live with purpose and create impact to actually last. We're diving into what it really takes to build your inner circle, the kind of support system that reminds you don't have to do it all alone. Dr. Zeledón shares why even the most driven achievers need their own roundtable. People who challenge you, inspire you, and walk beside you every step of the way. So pull up a chair and join us at the table. This conversation might just change the way you build your community. Esther, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited for our conversation, but before we begin, I want to check in. How are you really?
I am a mix of both exhausted and extremely fulfilled and aligned.
I love that answer. Okay, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've had so much going on the past few years, and I get this like mixed feeling of I love what I do so much, but I feel like I can't catch my breath. I went through a phase where I was sleeping 3 hours a night and for months at a time, and I constantly felt like I wasn't doing enough. So I kept pushing myself until I was so drained and didn't want to do it anymore, and told myself that is the price of being successful. But I didn't feel successful. I felt like I was drowning and unable to breathe.
Oh no, I can, I have definitely been in that spot where, you're being everything for everyone. And you're suffering in silence because you are the one that everyone looks up to, right? You're the one who solves everything. You're the caretaker, the fixer, the everything. Plus you have like you want to excel in the other things in your life, but at the same time you're exhausted, you feel drained, all these things, but you can't a lot of times share that with anyone because it's like this dichotomy of like, well, they all rely on me to be this pillar of strength for them. So if I share it, then I'm burdening them with my problems when I should be helping fixing it. It's a whole spiral, right? It's the high achiever curse where you're going through all these things, but then who's there for you, right? And then you're suffering with all of this without anybody really even knowing that it's happening in the background.
I feel so seen right now. I Yesterday I had a meeting that I really wanted, worked so hard for. They no-showed. I was heartbroken. And I mean, I went on a 2.5 hour walk to calm down and cry it out. So I was very heartbroken. And I had texted one of my friends because she knew I had the meeting, and she checked in to see how it went. I was like, they no-showed. I'm really kind of frustrated. And she went to call me to talk to me about it, which was so sweet. At the same time, I'm the friend that usually shows up for her when she's having a hard time. So I was like, no, it's totally fine. Like, it's not a big deal. I know it has nothing to do with me. Something must have come up, or if they didn't want to work with me and they didn't feel like responding and letting me know, that's a them thing, not a me thing. I'm totally fine. Minimizing everything that I was feeling. Meanwhile, on this 2.5 hour walk in the LA heat, trying to stop crying and feeling like I can't admit it to someone who's one of my closest friends because I don't want them to think that I'm not okay. And like you said, burden them with my problems.
Exactly. And in the end, right, it's one of the biggest things that we have to learn is to receive. And
Yes.
that's so hard because we see it that way. We're like, well, we don't want to burden, or we know what it is when a lot of people over ask to us, right? When we feel that everyone's pulling, the last thing we want to be is that person. And so because of that, we're like, oh, I don't want to share it. I don't want to burden them, and you care about them and all these things. But at the same time, like what we're doing is like we need to reframe that because they're their power and the way they like to help is holding space. And so by us not sharing it, we're also not letting them live their power and how they want to help and show up. And even though like we're always fixing and doing these things, and when we help others, we like to see the impact and transformation. So do other people. And if it's a trusted place and a trusted space, we need to learn how to receive it. And it doesn't mean that we have to do it with everyone, right? Because it's true. We know the reason we also hesitate too is because we've been burned, right? And as high achievers too, right? Like we have our circle is smaller than other people. Like I mean, like when I mean circle, I mean the round table. We may have like a lot of people that we're helping and supporting, but I like to reference it like King Arthur, right? When King Arthur had to take right the world from like a place of negativity to a place of light, he couldn't do it alone, even though he was like this ultimate high achiever person, right? He needed a table of 12 and he needed 11 people by his side that brought something different to the table. And so one of the things that high achievers like us, what we need is we need a round table, right? I have like this worksheet. We need the person who gives you the hard truths. We need the person that can listen to us. We need the person that checks in. We need the person who cheers us up, right? Like, it has different categories. Who's going to tell us the hard truth that we need to hear. And everyone brings that power, just like we are one of those to someone else. And so we need to have that round table around us to have the impact that we want to give. So when people want to give us, we have to receive, and we have to see it as by receiving, I'm able to be able to give more and have more impact. But make sure that it's a person that's in your round table. And when you do both, right, you can be authentic, you can be yourself. And also, it helps also create boundaries on even how much you give, because by letting others practice giving it to you, they also know how much it takes. That it is something that takes effort and time. And a lot of times when we give, it may not be appreciated or valued, but we're also not allowing other people to experience it themselves to know how much time and effort it really is, right? So by having that that dual relationship, then we end up having less resentment long term as well, and actually also evening it out a little bit too. But it is hard. I would say it's one of the most difficult things that I've had to learn is to receive.
I never thought about it from the other perspective.
Yeah,
How, and it's so funny. My friend said to me a couple weeks, maybe a week ago, she's like, tell me something I can do to help you. Like, I need to know something I can do to help you. And I was like, I don't need anything. Like, I'm totally fine. I also am the person who likes to think I can do everything on my own at all times. I don't need anyone. I'm like I think I'm Wonder Woman for some reason, which I'm clearly not. Um, so I kept saying like, no, I don't need anything. I don't need anything. But what my friend needed was to feel needed, right? And maybe to not feel like, oh,
exactly.
I'm asking her for stuff all the time. How can I also support her?
Exactly.
I never looked at it like that.
Exactly. And maybe one of her values is also authenticity. And she may be able to read from you or compassion, and she can feel it. Like the people who are really close to us in our roundtable know when we are not being completely transparent. So it's probably why she's even probing to you more. Like, what can I, because she can feel it. And like that feeling is actually, but we don't realize by not receiving too, we're actually causing a burden because we're not resolving for them the feeling that they know and that thought that they have that they know that we need it. Yeah. So when you flip it and you see it that actually you're serving them and that you can say what you feel. You can say, this is what's going on. I've been hesitant to tell you because I don't want to be a burden. And then she's gonna be like, oh my God, you're not a burden. Actually, you're making it less of a burden because I feel like I'm always taking and I need that balance. And then you guys have a good chuckle on it. And then you know what I mean? But you can be frank and say, I've been hesitating because I don't want to burden you with this. I know you have a lot going on. And just be like, no, it's not a burden at all. I actually need this. right? Yeah.
Powerful reframe and that open communication. That's something that I'm a huge advocate for communication until it's my turn. Then I'm like, how do I do that? Can I talk about it? Working on that. But it's really scary sometimes to start the conversation. Like, can I tell them that I'm a little anxious or worried about how they're going to receive this because I like to see myself in this way? And maybe it's my own judgment that I'm pushing onto them, right? I'm assuming that they're going to think I'm weak because I'm telling myself that I'm weak for not being able to handle everything.
Right. But actually, instead, it's giving, it's actually giving a realism of, and it's being honest and truthful.
Yeah.
Because instead, what we're creating is what, by not saying what it really is, we're continuing that paradigm of the superwoman, I'm also a mother, superwoman, super mom type of fallacy, which is not true. And not only that, but when you see the movies, right? When we see like think about the movies you love. I love the movies where I can see behind the scenes of the people I admire and actually see the struggles, what they've overcome. And it doesn't change them. Like I've seen like Viola Davis, or even like someone like JLo, when I see her stuff, I'm like, oh, that's what's happening behind the scenes. Or Selena Gomez, like all of them, right? You don't like, you think about your own person that you admire and their childhood hero. You don't admire them because they're perfect. You admire them for their other qualities. And what is your definition of someone you admire? And when you actually break that down, well, who do you admire?
Taylor Swift.
Okay, why? She's very authentic.
She is. And she's very, I mean, throughout her career, there were so many times she gave speeches on, not letting people are going to be mean to you. They're going to criticize you, right? They
Exactly.
make fun of you for being happy, but don't let them take that away from you. I
Yeah.
always loved that because it felt so,
Yeah.
it feels like people criticize and it makes me feel not good enough. And then I doubt myself and question myself and think I'll never be able to do anything.
Exactly. And Taylor Swift has spoken about her feelings through music. She's talked about right now, even the whole thing about getting her music back and owning it again, and how that made her feel. And by being her authentic self, she has stepped into her power, right? And she's shown like the messy.
Yeah,
So when you see that, right? She's kind, she's outspoken, she doesn't quit, right? She shares her things that she's been through, and she's who she is, and you don't see her less. So every time you feel like, oh, somebody might judge me, those are not your people. If someone judges you, that's not your round table.
that's so
Yeah,
true. Wait, I love that we brought Taylor Swift into this conversation. It's like,
I do love her.
back to the point of the round table. For me, I've had so many moments where I thought people were there for me, and then it turned out they weren't, and made me feel I had this one friend who I thought was a really good friend, and I remember being so excited to show her like the workbooks I was writing. And she constantly kept putting me down because I was a master's student at that time and I did not have the credential, I did not have the degree. And she had a PhD. So I wasn't good enough to be writing these. And I started feeling really insecure and thinking, well, I need to graduate sooner. I need to figure out my doctor. I need to do all these things to be able to create resources that help people. Meanwhile, people were actually enjoying the workbooks and it was helping them. And I hadn't run into a licensed professional that said, oh, these aren't good enough because you don't have a credential. It was coming from a place of lived experience and education and training. So this person made me feel I questioned a lot of who I was, but I thought they would have been at my round table. And then it's hard to distinguish, I guess, who really is there and who isn't.
Well, it depends, right? This is part about being authentic. If the minute you start being really vulnerable and authentic with your community, you'll know who's there for you and who's not there for you. Like I think the moments where you hit rock bottom is where you know who your people are. Like the person who checked up on you, that's someone who is,
Yeah.
right? And so the people who take are not, right? They have to be people, the people in your round table are the people who align with your values. And then, and there's like this, I know this is really cool, like pro quiz I give everyone on what are your values, because it's not like the cookie cutter values, like, oh, I value, I don't know, family love, this and that. No, like, what do you like? There are really distinct values that you have as a person. Mine is like meaningful work, contribution, compassion, right? And then and there's certain things in a certain order. So I already know right away that if a person does not have compassion, if they don't have that emotional center like that and want to help people, they can't be in my roundtable. So also it's taking a deep look at the people around you. Do they match my values? Or am I trying to seek validation from certain people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
And
so much
yeah.
sense.
So you might have what could have been confusing is like, oh, she was a step ahead of you in the career growth and things like that. And you probably were like, oh, this could be a good mentor for me. But mentorship is different than roundtable. Like mentorship's not about titles, not about credentials. Um, who's in your roundtable is that, right? And so like look at you even said that you value lived, like it's lived experience plus education plus the thing. So, and also someone who's on a roundtable would never put you down. They believe in your ideas and cheer you on. So the minute someone is negative with you or criticizing, or even watch their behavior, how they are with other people, if they gossip, if they're negative, if they're talking about other people in front of you, all those negative things, they're doing that about you too. So like I don't have anyone in my circle that gossips, anyone in my circle that even family members, I will hang up if they call me with gossiping. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know it, and I don't welcome it. Because the minute that you let that in or those people into your life, they're gonna do that about you too. They're not people that can be in your round table. People in your round table cheer you on and other people on.
This
Yeah.
is something that I've recently learned, maybe I want to say 2 months ago, where I had friends who were constantly just talking about their other friends.
Oh
And
no.
I,
Out. Bad circle. Yeah.
I was sitting there and I'm like, I wonder if they talk about me like this. And I was just like, maybe I don't want to be around people who are talking like that.
Oh,
I started setting boundaries. And I had one friend who has, we have a mutual friend, but they're in a disagreement and we're trying to talk to me about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm your friend and I'm their friend. So I'm not going to engage in this conversation. If you need someone to validate feelings, that's one thing, but I'm not going to respond. And
and it also gives you an indication that you need distance. Anyone who speaks about other people, it's a projection of how they feel and how they feel in their life. So there's no way they cannot do that about other people and you because the criticism is a projection of them. So there's no way they can't do that about you too.
yeah,
Yeah. As much as you think, oh, they're talking about me, that means that they're not talking, they are just talking about them, not about me. No, because even when the criticism they're giving about that person, it's a reflection of their own frustration. So it's not, it's going to include you too in that.
yeah,
So those are people you need to disengage. You need to be around people that are going to be supportive of one another, uplifting of one another. I mean, it also depends on you whether you're willing to do the change management work with your friends to be like, we all need to stop, like rules, no gossip of each other, no only uplifting, things like that, right? We need to cheer each other on. If we have an issue with another person, we need to address it right away. Like ground rules. But if you guys are not for that, then then let's move on. But I'm willing to grow together with you and let's create this environment together because like especially if they're women need to support women. And we need to be in circles like that. There's already enough I mean, in society of people putting us down and enough doubt. You can't have that from the people close to you in our own minds, right? We already have that negative voice inside of us. We can't have that noise around us too.
Yes, exactly. And again, this goes to communication, right?
Yeah.
Being able to share what we're thinking and create that space for conversation. Because, like I said, it was maybe 2 months ago that I recently had that realization, and maybe they've never thought about it either.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm saying it could, and that's when you test it, right? It could be that the group is willing to evolve, but it could also be that they're not willing. And so that's, you know what I mean? Like when you get the response, I've had the groups. I've had the response of, well, gossip's part of our, like, I don't know, biological being, our things. I'm like, I'm not aligned with that. Because they're like, well, it's our way of telling stories. And I'm like, not when it's negative. Like you can have that's why it's called gossip. Like another thing could be news of, did you see that cool outfit she's wearing? It could be positive. The gossip has a negative kind of connotation, right? So, but as a high achiever, we can't have that. Like maybe other people can handle it and they brush it off. But when you're constantly being the person that everyone relies on and you're fixing things and you're already like have so much on your plate, so many people you're carrying, you have to have people that just pour love and support around you. Like the last thing you need, you're already critical on yourself, is have the worry and the anxiety of and also because as a high achiever, and I have this in my book, it's the hyper scrutiny that comes with being a high achiever from others. So it means that no one close to us, we're already getting hyper scrutinized by everyone because we perceive to the world as being perfect. So there's already a next level of scrutiny that comes that other people don't get. So the last thing you need, if already societies have that, is have a group of people that are going to give you the anxiety that, oh great, another group of people that are scrutinizing me. You need to be confident. Like your circle needs to be a safe space. And if it's already like that type of negativity, it's actually more anxiety than it is comfort. Yeah.
That is so true. Recently, yesterday, I, yeah, I had someone, I told someone that I was feeling kind of stuck. A very, very close person to me, a family member, was telling him I was feeling stuck. And I'm not quite sure which way to approach this. I could use some support in like brainstorming, talking it out. I'm that kind of person who sometimes just needs someone to like listen to me while I talk things out. And my dog kept walking away. So I reached out to that person and they shared advice that was not listening to what I was saying and just completely way off. And I was like, I feel like you're not hearing me. Can we just focus on what I'm talking about? And they were like, well, clearly you don't want to be successful. And just started attacking me that I don't want to be successful. I'm doing everything wrong. I don't care. I don't listen. And I was like, there were
Nope,
two
wrong.
options in this
Now you're
moment
around table. Now you're
on my
wrong.
round table. And I was
No,
questioning myself. I was like, well, something's wrong with me. And
no,
just
no.
completely crying over it.
So that means again, it's like a question, like, why did I reach out to this person? Again, is it for validation or for support, right? Because now that you know that they're like that, and maybe you didn't know, right? Because sometimes, we don't know until we ask. But now that you know, never again,
Yeah.
never again. And so now, like, that's why that roundtable circle exercise is so important. Like, be like, who actually listens to me? Who actually is my support? Who actually is my cheerleader? And you write them down, right? And it might be that at first you only have like three people, but then you're gonna, you're gonna get 11, right? Different circles. Maybe I need to join different groups. I remember when I started the social enterprise movement, right? At first, like, and not always, and this is what I was saying, your life's an auditorium. Before I go into that story, your life's an auditorium. I like to see it like where it has rows of people, but who's in the front row changes depending on what's going on in your life. And so your family can be in your auditorium, your friends throughout your life, right? Whatever. But who's in the front row changes depending on what you're going through and the support you need at that time, right? And who understands what's happening. So I always say your front row is your round table. It doesn't mean that the other people are not in your auditorium, but where they sit in the row, going to be different. So that person's going to always be your family, but they're going to be in the back, right? They're not front row anymore. Like you, because you need people who are supportive of your ideas, supportive of your things. So it's like, okay, that's not a person I can brainstorm with. I need to find somewhere else in a new place. So back to the story I was saying when I first started my social entrepreneurship. I left, I was before then like a diplomat, right? And I had like an international development humanitarian, and I was making impact. So people did not understand because I was very successful in that career, that why would I leave it? And the thing is, what they didn't understand is that it's not that I did. I loved the impact I was having. But as a high achiever, you always want to grow. Like it's something like for me, there's a calling, there's an intuition, there's a legacy I want to leave behind. And I felt like I had done what needed to happen and be done at that organization. And now I needed to move on. And I had a deeper calling of reaching more people and access, and I knew that that was the way I wanted to contribute and have meaningful work, right? But everyone around me could not understand that. Like, why would you leave a job that gives you a pension, that has all these things that you've already, like, you did all the work to climb the ladder? And my family was like, you have kids, I can't believe this, what are you doing, and I was like, I can't have the negative voices. So I had to create a new front row, because I'm like, they're not going to support me right now. They can't because from a place of love, sometimes this stuff comes from their place of love. Remember, everything people tell you is a projection of their own, right? So they were telling me their worries. I knew from a place of love, in the sense that they're like, worst case scenario, those things is because they value well-being and they think worst case scenario. Okay, but you can't, that's not my front row. So I ended up joining digitally a program in Australia, across the world, of women entrepreneurs. And they were amazing. They were exactly who I needed for 2 years. They were like the support and the cheerleaders, and we met weekly. And that's who became my circle that time in my life. And that's what I needed. And then once I started to become successful in this, then everyone else came around. And then some of them I could move, up in the rows, but I still knew that they could move up in the rows, but they still could never be my cheerleader, because the people, I had one person that I could put in my front row that I've known him since I was 13, he was the one person I told my idea, and he's like, you make everything into a reality, right? But he's like someone I talk to like, twice a year, always, right? My best friend for life. But he was like, I called him and he's like, you're always going to do it. Right. So he's like the person in my round table that I can call to be like, you know me my whole life. What do you, cheer me, you're my cheerleader. But then everyone else needed to be new, and that's okay, right? And that's just something to recognize. What do I need right now in this stage in my life? And who can really be that force? And sometimes it's going to shift. And yeah, I think I was telling you before we talked right now, I've been working crazy hours, right? And everyone's been taking because there's a lot going on in the world, right? And I even now my roundtable has changed this year, because I also realized like everyone was asking me for things, but there was only a few people that checked up on me going, man, I know you're all around the world and you're serving and you're depleted. I just want to send you a voice note on how are you? Are you taking care of yourself? And I'm like, this is my new roundtable. Right? They're not asking me for anything. They're just like literally checking up on me and sending me a voice note being like, how are you? You know what I mean? Just even just that thought, I'm like, oh, that's the thing I need right now. So it's no, sometimes we have to go outside of where we're at when we're trailblazing, because as high achievers, we trailblaze new things like that work, but probably maybe that PhD student, or she had already a PhD, had just never seen that before, right? So it was a projection of like, well, like maybe, it was like very like traditional, like you need to have this before you publish this, and the old school mentality, and projected that on you. But you need someone, you just can't have that in your circle. You need someone who's like open-minded and innovative, that's like, of course, yes, like, think outside the box. And yeah, workbooks are amazing and they help people, right? You needed someone more entrepreneur and like creative and to support you, not that person, right? And it doesn't mean that that person later might not come back and be like, oh my God, I was totally wrong. Because you leave empathy and space for people to come around. Um, but you also don't engage until they come around again. Right? I don't know. So it's an interesting journey, right? With people around you.
That's so powerful. I mean, being surrounded by having this goal, this mission, this dream, wanting to do it, and being surrounded by people telling you it's not a good idea and doubting you. It's so easy, or I imagine it could have been so easy to just be like, okay, you guys are right. Everyone's right. I can't do this. I'm not going to try. But instead, you seeked out a community that was there for you, that didn't give you self doubt, that gave you that support and empowerment that you needed. A lot of times we don't realize just because people are our immediate circle doesn't mean they get to dictate what we can and can't do. Our worth doesn't come from what they tell us. And I know for me, that's something, it's very easy for me when people, everyone around me is telling me, no, I can't do it. I'm either the person who has to prove them wrong and everything becomes about getting their validation, or the person who's like, no, everyone around me knows me and they know I can't handle this. Something is wrong with me. And then I spiral into more of a depressive episode, feeling completely overwhelmed and lost and disconnected from myself until I one day wake up and have to prove them wrong.
Exactly. And honestly, that's at the end, it's like the journey is moving away from other people, right? It's realizing that they are just projecting their fears and unfulfilled purpose onto you. And when you realize that, and I said sometimes it's not coming from a bad place. It sometimes it comes from a place of love. You know what I mean? Like that's why I have empathy towards it. You know what I mean? When everyone told me no, I looked at them in the lens of empathy, of you can't, I have empathy for you because you can't see it. And so, but you will. So rather than proving it wrong, like I reframe it as I am going to trailblaze this path so you can see it as a possibility for yourself too. So that's the reframe, because that's what it is. It's if you start noticing that it's not about you at all. It's that they they wanted to also, and someone told them no. They maybe had a dream that someone else shut them down. It's a projection of what they've been taught or society or things. And so you're going to help them see that there's a better way. It's more like being like, you just don't see it and I can see it. Because that's the difference, right? When you're a high achiever trailblazer, you see and feel energy that other people have not felt yet, or haven't had the courage or to do it themselves. And so it's almost like being like, I'm going to do a service in the world and show you that possibility. And when you reframe it, um, you stop listening to them because you start realizing you're functioning at a different frequency. So I'm just at a different frequency. And that's what I did with my stuff. And then I realized like my book, like at first, the olds, the who I thought was my circle were not the ones who championed it at first. They championed it later. But again, that makes sense. I had to trailblaze the path. They had to see it for themselves. Now that they saw that it was a possibility, they all came around and later then shared with me. I always had a dream of writing a book. I always had this. I always had that. But they needed me to do it first to show them and actually then change their feelings and perceptions inside, right? And so your immediate circle, like the people, like they can only see what's in front of them, right? That's why opportunity and access, right, is so important, right? Like I'm going outside your circle, and that's why I like to travel and see different things, right? Because then you start to realize, actually, no, this is a possibility, right? Actually, no, I've seen it, right? And that's why, you have to like expose yourself. And So when you reframe, it's not about proving them wrong because it's not even about wrong. They just don't even see it. So they're just like, of course that can't work because I've never seen it work. So you're showing them the path. But you need to be around people who it's not even that like they know you, it's that they know that everything you do, like they believe in your vision and they know that everything you create, like you make every vision into a reality. That's who you need people around you going, I'm going to support you alongside this vision. I may not see it, but I support you in it. And I'm going to cheer you along and I'm going to be by your side, whether this works or doesn't work. Like, that's not even about that. I'm going to be by your side. Those are the people you need. And because they're the ones who are like, maybe I don't see it, but I care about you. And I know you have power. And if this is something you really want, I'm going to support you. And so that's the mindset. Those are people with growth mindsets, right? And so the people who are like, you can only do this or that, that's a very fixed mindset. So yeah, it can't be around those for now. Doesn't mean they won't come around later, but for now. So in any time like I'm now on a new thing, I have like I don't I look, I love my mom. I have a great relationship with my mom. Like I love her to death, right? But she's not the first person I call with an idea. You know what I mean? Because she's gonna she it's from a place of love. She thinks about worst case scenario. But I call instead my roundtable. I'm like, I really want to do this next thing. But it's not that I need their ideas. I tell them, I just need you to what I need is just pump me up that if I put my mind to it, I'll do it. And they're always like, everything you put your mind to, you do. That's what I need to hear. Also, I don't rely just on people. Like you have a lot of, like you just said, people have loved your workbook, right? What has helped you overcome depression in the past will keep helping you overcome it, right? I've also overcome a lot of depression, anxiety, which comes with the high achiever thing, right? I screenshot every testimonial I've ever gotten, and I read 5 of them a day, and I have them like in a folder, so they rotate to remember my impact and my values, right? Because it's about serving. It's about serving the world. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. It's about serving. So I start my day with that. So whatever helps you, like has helped you in the past get through your depression and anxiety, that's what's going to help you. Oh, that's instead of using it in crisis, use it as part of your everyday. So now instead of like hitting rock bottom, I just every day pump myself up and remember what's my why? Why am I doing this? Why am I pushing myself? Why am I taking care of everyone? Why am I being the high achiever? It's for this, right? It's for my values and yeah.
This is such a mature way of looking at it. I got to get there. That
You will, you will, you
I
will.
so many thoughts right now. Okay, process through them. I love the idea of, I know like so many thoughts, not taking things personally. That's something I recently
Yes,
reread the Four Agreements, and that was a big thing. Not taking things personally. I like to assume everything's about me, but like you said, people only see what they know.
exactly.
And if they are trying to maybe warn you, it might not be about you at all. It's their own
Not,
fears. And I never thought about it like that. I am so the first person to take everything personally.
yep,
Yesterday on my 2.5 hour walk, I was
yeah,
like, nothing to do with you. This has nothing to do with you. Just over and over again telling myself, because it's so hard. And when we learn to not take it personally and see that other side, it does foster more empathy, like you said, but it also fosters more empathy toward ourselves, right?
exactly. A
It's,
client that didn't show up is their loss.
yeah,
They might have been scared. They might not have been ready for it. There's so many circumstances. So when people don't show up, like I have no shows, I'm like, well, you just missed out.
yeah,
Even I got an email today, right, about like this program I'm in, this program I'm doing with Coach, right? They had months to sign up. Okay. And they were actually people who were not really for the program in the beginning. And now they want the program. I can't fit them in. And as much as I would want to, I can't. Because again, I'm like, I have empathy for you. You didn't understand it. Now that you've seen proof you want it, but I really can't fit you in. And that's why I'm like, if you're a no-show, you risk that. You risk of losing it. So it's almost also remember, like it's also like like a thing for us to realize that what we give has value. And if the person don't doubt the value. So if the person didn't show up, it's something they're going through. And actually the response to that is when they don't show up as an email and be like, this and that, like, I saw you didn't show up to this. Is everything okay? Because, this is something that, has, tremendous, value, life changing. So let me know if this is something emergency happened and this like that, right? And then if it's not an emergency, you're like, then you don't give your time again, right? If it's a complete disrespect, okay, well then they just forgot. Well, then I don't know. I can't help you. And or they may have too much on their mind, too much on their plate. They're scattered, they're disorganized, right? It's like it has nothing to do with you. And a lot of times people don't want to get on the call because I don't know, they can't deal with it that day. And they can't, and they lack confrontation. They don't know how to tell you they can't make it. It's always about them. There's this great book. I remember I suffered through all this though, right? This is like a journey. I do want to say that I was the person who took everything personal. I was, it's depressive. I climbed the social ladder. That's why I talk in my book, right? I chased the American dream and climbed the ladder, got all the titles. I have the PhD. I had the director thing. I did all of that and then crashed because I did everything you can do to have all the validation in the world. And then I realized, what did I do? Like my validation, my worth was not tied to any of that. It was about the value I bring as a human being and just being me. And just being me, and the thing, and it's the hardest thing. But once you realize that your value is just being you, then you're like, there's a great book called for listeners even going through this too, is Loving What Is, okay? And it's a great book because it has all these scenarios in there of of how it's a projection of them and you. So like why do you want like because it's twofold. One is what they say is a projection of you, but then it's also us wanting the person to be different. And it's like so the wanting the person to be different is that's the responsibility on us because everyone has their own power and we should not that's our own thing driving expectation. Like it's like if you went back to that family member and you want them to be supportive. They already showed you they weren't supportive. So you going back, that's on you, right? Like you re-engaging, that's on you. I dated all these the wrong men for a very long time until I met Paul. And that is 100% on me. How did I not learn the first, second, third, fourth time? Right? Until I realized why am I seeking validation from the wrong man? Why can I just accept me, what I bring, and the person and the partner I want, and just leave it that way? And it wasn't until I did that, is really until Paul came into my life because I was ready to accept the person I wanted and also work together to build it. But I had to accept that. I kept on trying to get certain men to mold and I was going to change them and it was going to work out and I was going to put this control over it and we were going to build this empire thing, but they were never. I was trying to make them into my vision rather than seeking my alignment to my vision. I was trying to make them into my vision. And I think that's the first step is like, that's what that book goes is like, that person is who they are. So if they're not who you need them to be, move on. Next circle, next friend, next partner. And it doesn't mean that you don't put work. I'm talking about like values, right? Like the foundation, because obviously you grow as a couple, but like values, do they value the same thing? Do they have the same vision in your life, the same legacy they want to leave? Does their vision 20 years from now match yours, right? If it doesn't, you're not going to change it. You're not going to convince them. I always wanted to be global and travel around, and yet I was dating people who wanted to have a suburban fenced house and live in one place? Why was I trying to change them into this global thing? But again, why? Because I thought something was wrong with me, that I didn't want the traditional thing, right? That had to do with me thinking that, oh, so maybe something's wrong with me, and then maybe I could change them and we can come in the middle. But it's letting go of all those paradigms. Stop trying to change people, letting them be, find the people you need behind you, being true to yourself. And if someone judged you after you sharing something, that's not your round table either, right? And for being vulnerable, no, like the people I have shared recently that I am like equally exhausted, like because there's people who lost their, a lot of people lost their jobs right now. And I am abundant right now because I have all this work. When I've shared with the folks that I'm super exhausted, but it is fulfilling, and people have responded, well, be thankful you have work. I'm like, you're not in my round table. So you're in my auditorium. Do you know what I mean? Because that's not the support I need. The support is you're doing really good work. I don't know, something else, but this isn't about you. You know what I mean? This is something like I can be exhausted and abundant, right? I'm not asking about that's not the support I need right now. So I understand that's a grateful thing, but you have to know what support you need. So I don't know. Long story short is I've been on this journey. I can't, what I do still suffer with though is boundaries, and boundaries around how much I give. And that's always going to be something that I think we all are going to struggle with. And that's why I wake up and read my testimonial so I don't go into self-doubt. It's a journey. So I don't want any listener to feel that, oh, I still feel all these things. It's doesn't matter what age, as long as you heal from it. I'm in my 40s. It took a long time for me to get here, right? I mean, I coach people in their 70s and they're still working it out. What matters is that you work it out and love who you are, and whatever age you need to go through a journey, go through it. It's worth it. So you can love yourself, accept yourself, and be around people who love you for who you are.
Never too late. Esther, you are amazing. This is the exact conversation I needed today. So thank you so much.
You are amazing too.
For our listeners who want to learn more about you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I have a book, Creating Your Limitless Life with Chasing the American Dream crossed out. So they can learn more about me and my story through my book. So I share all the ups and downs. I always tell people that it's a how-to book on how to find alignment and your power. And it has a workbook that goes with it. And for me, all the proceeds go into pro bono coaching that I give to people who can't afford coaching. So it's a social enterprise book. But I would tell everybody it took me only 6 weeks to write the how-to part and 2 years to write my story, because I'm a high achiever and vulnerability is really hard. And so I did not delete any part of my struggle. So I share the ugly, the bad, everything I went through. Like I just told you, the relationships I had to learn from, the friends, the things in my job, the hyper scrutiny. While everyone was seeing all the awards, my suffering in silence, I did try to take my life once that people wouldn't understand. Right. Like you were like, what? You had everything. But it was because I was suffering in silence. So I talk about how I built resilience, right? And built community and built empathy and like everything we're talking about. So if they want to get to know me on a deeper level, I would say grab the book. Um, Grab the workbook. The workbook helps you go through all these exercises where you think about your legacy and your purpose and your alignment and what you really want, what you really value, your round table. Celebrate yourself every day. We're so hard on ourselves, and we have to celebrate like what the impact and value we bring to the world every day, rather than these milestones we create for ourselves. So I would say that's the first step. And then I'm on Instagram, be act change, right? Be who you are, take action, and then together we can change the world. I really believe in collective power. That's why I'm against like the gossip circles, all the negativity, because until we come together as a society, we're never going to create power. Like the whole competition and nastiness, we're just taking light away from the transformation we can bring. So I even do this with teams as well and different organizations. So I would say book, workbook, be at change. I'm also on LinkedIn if you're not a social media person. I'm on LinkedIn under my name, so you can follow there. So there's a bunch of different ways. I'm very responsive. So if you read the book and you like something, respond to me. I'm actually the one who responds to you because I like connecting. It means something to me to connect to readers and to people and to help.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.